There we go.
All right. You know what it is. You know who it is. We are back with another episode of the BG Perform podcast in the year 2026 with my co-host, Coach Jerry Hayes. Jerry, you're very pixelated right now. I hope that's not how it looks in
You
the
are too. It
video.
definitely doesn't look that way. It's just
All
the
right, good.
just the recording part.
All right.
Yeah, you may notice I'm in a new location. Not at my
Yes.
desk with my beautiful microphone. That will be
With his
getting set up
beautiful unmade
soon.
bed behind him.
This is actually made. I just made
No,
it
the one
recently.
in California.
Oh, yes, yes. The beautifully made bed without that behind me.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm in a new look. I'm actually in my new bedroom. I'm in Colorado again, so that was like the big thing where I was like, we're just gonna film in at the new year because there were a lot of moving parts, but we made it out here. We're gonna be taking new clients out here and moving and grooving. I'll be at Kula Sports Performance, which would be awesome to be back in the athletic game and coaching a little bit more instead of doing the management role. So we're starting off 2026 pretty strong with some new clients. I think three new clients right off the bat. First 2 days is all it took. So we're moving and grooving.
All right, you beat me
Ben,
to it. I was gonna
I was
lead
gonna
into
say,
that, but he kind of
how's
just
things
jumped
been with
in.
you, Mister?
But Jerry made a big move, and he's back in Colorado. So
Yeah,
happy
yeah.
for him, and things are going to work out well. 2026 is going to be a great year
hmm hmm
for Mr. Coach Jerry Hayes. I've been
How's it
good,
looking for
busy.
Coach Brandon Gallagher?
Holidays were good. I've been crushing it as usual, getting ready for this year. I got a lot of plans. I'm excited for it. Got a lot of things coming. I'm ready to get back to the podcast. I'm ready to get back to talking, and yeah, I'm excited. So, got a good episode planned here. Welcome to 2026. I should start with that. I know I said it, but welcome to the new year. We are, as always, trying to level up. Obviously, Jerry just moved, so his audio may not be as good as mine for today.
Yeah.
But we're gonna make it work. We're gonna have the podcast, do what we got to do, and the next time he'll hopefully be set up. Um, but we're still gonna have same release schedule every Tuesday morning, 6 a.m. Podcast going to release on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple podcasts. And hoping to do a little bit more specific content for the podcast this year. Hoping to do a little bit more upgrades to the podcast, however we can make that work. So we're gonna make it happen. But today's episode and what I want to talk about is fitness trends. We hope we see in 2026, and I think obviously it's a new year. I think a lot of people tend to start the new year on a high note. There's things that everybody kind of goes into it with the new year, new me. Um, just putting themselves in a position to do better. And I think with that, a lot of times we've talked about this a bunch of times in past episodes. You get people who start and then within weeks, months, days, whatever it might be, they end up falling off the wagon. And I think that a lot of it is due to obviously, people not having guidance, people not having structure, people not having realistic expectations of how fitness actually is and what it's supposed to be. And I think a lot of that is just trends we've seen in the past over the past 10 years as the fitness industry has evolved over the last, we'll say 20 years, because I think if we're being honest, what fitness was 20 years ago and what it is today is a completely different animal. And I think, you know, turning 30, Jerry just turned what, 32?
hmm Yeah.
Just turned 32. And I think like my views have changed. My even outlook on what I want has changed. And I still have the same kind of understanding of it. But I think in my daily training and my daily, I guess, structure of what I do, I want it to be a certain way. And I hope that some of the things we talk about today are seen, because I think over the last couple of years, you and I can both agree that, there hasn't been the best trends inside of fitness that either people follow or at least people talk about on social media.
hmm Yeah, it's been very much. I think that's the best way to put it. it's just trends. Everything has been so trendy and like everything has been it's like the fitness in real life has turned into it's almost like morphing with fitness online where it's like whatever's
Hmm.
catchy, whatever's viral. So it's become very trendy in the past few years.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot that I think obviously this time of year can be really beneficial, right, to business, but it can also be beneficial to people's life because
Mhm.
this is a time when a lot of people do start, and there's a large percentage of people who will go and take their first steps into the gym ever. There's people who will take their first steps back into the gym after a really long time, and that's a positive. That's something that we as trainers want, not only from opportunities to help people in regards to their fitness, but just seeing more people in the gym. Because personally, I've been a big advocate for this. I don't really care what people do necessarily as long as they're moving, because it really is, the most important aspect of fitness, right? So, where I want to kind of get with this is that fitness really does have so many different angles you can take with it. But in 2026, I'm hoping there's a couple main things that we see happen, right? And I think what I want to talk about today is what needs to change, where we can be better, how we can be more efficient. And the first one with that, the first trend I really, hope to see, which honestly, I will say, I think this has slowed down a lot. And I think a lot of, and maybe it's just what I see when I go
Mhm.
online or what I'm, hearing, but I want to see fewer hacks. I want to see less shortcuts and more just like fundamental movement structures or programs or things like that. And I think I've been better about curating what I see online, even though I need to spend way less time online. One of my New Year things, as always. But I want to see fewer hacks. I want to see more fundamentals. I don't want to see, things that are shortcuts to a six pack or, lose 21 pounds in 7 days. And to me, that just kind of brings people, that sets them up for disappointment right away. And
Mhm.
that's what
Yeah.
literally gets people into that, hey, I'm excited, into I'm never doing this again. Right. And it happens so quick, because think about it. How many people join a New Year thing off a challenge or a 30-day, 60-day, 90-day challenge, and then they're halfway through, and it's all these expectations, all these things are changing. And I think that, the biggest thing is understanding, when you get into fitness, it's not just, hey, let me shortcut my way into losing weight. It's, I want to do this for the rest of my life. So I'm going to treat this as if I'm going to do it for the rest of my life. Not, I just need to lose as much weight as I possibly can in the next 3 weeks so I can look a certain way. That is one thing I really hope changes, and I've started to see more of it. But I also think it's up to us as trainers and veterans in the gym, right? I think it's really important for people in the gym who continue to go to the gym and, have that, almost that sigh of like, ugh, it's going to be packed, or ugh, there's going to be all these new people, as like a way to lead and kind of step into, someone that people can look to be like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing, but maybe I can go ask this guy, or this guy looks like he knows what he's doing, or just being there to allow people to come in and just help them. And I joke around about it a lot, but I think it's really important that as a trainer, I'm always there for those types of people, but also just showing up to know that if there's more fundamentals, there's more there's going to be more success long term.
Mhm. Yeah, I think we as an industry, but coaches in general, need to do a really good job, especially at the new year with all these new people coming in to the gym. They need to do a really good job of setting those expectations and letting them know, like, because I've even had clients come to me and say, like, listen, I know it's going to take time. So, like, people know it's just like letting them know that, yeah, it's going to take time. It's going to take a ton of effort, but you will get there. And not just saying, like, yeah, it'll take time, but it'll be easy. Because it does take consistency, which honestly, like when you're feeling tired, you're like, maybe I'll not go today. It takes getting past that, having the discipline, all the things that we've talked about will have
I
a
mean, that's
great
usually on day
foundation for
three,
training.
if we're being honest.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
usually on the first day, you're great. The second day, you're like,
yep.
oh, all right, I'm a little bit sore. Then the third day, you're like, I don't know
Now
if I
my
can make
whole
it today.
body sore. It's like my
Yeah.
upper, my lower, everything. Like I'm like, what the hell? So
Yeah.
that's a big problem that people have is like getting used to that feeling. But not only do I think we need to do that, but we joke about it all the time. Like when you have the five like high schoolers on the same bench press for like an hour. It's like, all right, guys, come
Hmm.
on, like let's do this. Be like talk to those people sometimes. Be like, oh, do you guys are new faces? Like, what are you guys working on? What are you hoping to achieve? high schoolers can be mad awkward, but sometimes just talking to them, just be, so one of them will be like, "Well, I really want to
Especially
be
the ones
better for
nowadays.
basketball." What'd you say?
These goddamn Gen Zers.
Yeah, um, I'm sorry. You want to talk to me like this? Can you just take my number down? I'll text you. Um, yeah, it's
What's your
I
name?
think
Hold on, let me ask ChatGPT.
I don't know how to answer you. Give me 1 second. How do I talk to literally anybody in front of me? No, it's the idea that these kids are there to like just be there. You have to know. We started off once. I remember being nervous as hell when I went into a public gym for the first time at the age of 15, 16 years old. I was looking around and I was like, I don't want to look like I'm doing anything bad. Bench press is the one thing I've seen online. Let's just bench. Like I was there. I'm sure Brandon, you were there. Bench press was
Actually,
like
I'm
the
gonna say
thing.
this. So yes, I was, but I was lucky enough that uh, so basically I snuck into this gym for like a year for free when I first started, like very first started working
What
out.
a
It was this,
scumbag.
I know, it was me, Nick, Sam, Anthony was there sometimes. It was this soccer place over by me called Aframs, and
Well,
they
it
used
sounds
to
like a
have
TSE. Did they have like a bunch of like indoor
yeah soccer
soccer?
fields.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
But there was a weight room upstairs, but it was right like the stairs were right before the front desk. So it was basically like you just walk in and you can go up the stairs and you could just get
Yeah.
up there. So for like a solid year, I was up there by myself and there was never anyone in there because I would always go um, like kind of the either the morning times or like afternoon times because this was while I was well this must have been summer. I don't remember how long whatever, but the
This must
time
have
that I was
been
working out.
summer of 2010 to 2011 because I remember either then or the year after because I remember that we worked out in my basement for like that was like one of the first times you like came to work out. You were staying at the house for a week. I was like,
Okay,
dude, just
that might have been it. Yeah,
yeah,
but I obviously wouldn't have been able to go in the summer or but anyways, so I went there for a really long time. Might not have been a year. So I was going there, and no one was in there. So I was just able to do whatever I wanted, and I probably just looked like an idiot, but I didn't have
yeah,
anybody judging me. So I was just able to be just do whatever. I remember we were,
doing
and that place
curls
was
like
so
this.
weird because we used to do in decline dumbbell bench press with like 90s, but then I would like go to a real gym and I wouldn't be able to do like 50s. It was the most it was the most absurd place I've ever been in
It's
my
just
life.
missing the
We were
cord
like
piece
full
inside to dispose of the
stacking.
weight.
We were like full stacking the seated row with
Yeah,
plate on top. And then I'd go to a normal gym and couldn't do like 50 pounds for 10 reps. It was,
it
I
could
thought I
be
was
the
like the
double pulley.
strongest person in the world.
They probably had the double pulley versus the single pulley, and those work
I don't
different.
know.
Yeah,
Very, very strange place, but
yeah,
it was great for my confidence early on.
yeah, yeah.
'Cause-
No, I mean, I'm freaking good at this.
yeah,
This is my
exactly.
thing.
But it worked out for me. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, and I think that's true. And I think one of the things you said too is, you know, allowing yourself to kind of just like make mistakes and not be so harsh and understand that you're just starting out on this stuff,
Hmm.
and to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help, and don't be afraid to just mess up.
Hmm.
Because I think that's a big thing. Anything else you want to add to that?
Take some younglings under your wing, not Anakin style. Don't take them under your blade. Take them under your wing. So like, if you do see that group of five kids and they're in the gym, and then you see them there, like maybe they went in like 3 times that week. Go up to them and be like, "Hey man, you guys have been really consistent. Congratulations on killing it. Like you guys are doing great." And then from there, you can enter with like, "Oh, what's up, guys? Oh, by the way, when you do this, like try to change this little thing, or like." You can give them form tips then, and they'll be more open because they're like, "Oh, this is the older guy at the gym who's like pretty chill." So
And if they
whether
start
you like
calling you an
it,
unk,
Brandon, we are the older guys at the gym now. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah, we're there.
I'm
And
the
then
unk.
and then make sure that we're changing the industry from a young age so they don't do stupid shit right off the
Yeah.
bat.
But
Yeah.
also, I think for the older generation too, I think there's a lot to be said that a lot of people, like I said, there's people who are just stepping foot into the gym after a really long time, or
Hmm.
after health problems, or just kind of finding their way back to the gym who might not be 13, because that's a different
Yeah.
breed in and of itself. Like you're 13, you can really do whatever you want and it's going to work. When you get a
You
little
just
bit
stare at
older,
a
you got to be
dumbbell and you're gonna get pecs.
yeah. As you get older, you got to be a little bit smarter, and there's
Hmm.
even more of that feeling of like timidness because you're like, well, I'm 50 years old, 40 years old. I feel like I should know how to touch a dumbbell, and I don't, or use a
Yeah,
dumbbell
yeah.
or use a barbell. But just go in, ask questions. That's why I think it's really important to have somebody, even if it's just for a little bit, to guide you and kind of show you the ropes and show you the things that you need to do. Um, but yeah, so I hope really in 2026, I hope there's fewer hacks, and I hope there's more people, which I think there are, talking about the fundamentals. But I'd really love to see a whole stop to this, and obviously the challenge thing is more of a sales tactic than anything else. Like, it's not more effective for fitness; it's more effective for selling people on fitness. And I think that's a really important thing for people to understand in regards to the shortcuts or 10-day shreds or 21-day challenge type deal.
Hmm.
But yeah, trend number two, I think this one, it's funny because I've been on this train for a really long time. And I think I've seen more and more people talk about this because, I think we went through a phase of post post bodybuilding
Hmm.
where, Jay Cutler, then you got Ronnie Coleman, then it was who was before Ronnie Coleman? There was a couple people before him.
Before Ronnie Coleman,
Yeah, there was like, obviously like Arnold, you got Lou Ferrigno, like those types of guys. Like the
Mensur,
bodybuilding
yeah.
was what fitness was for a very
Hmm.
long time. And because it was the biggest thing, because it was, that's what Arnold blew it up. And then Ronnie Coleman came into the picture. And then you had all these other guys. And bodybuilding for a really long time was seen as like, this is what the ideal physique is, right? But then what started to happen, obviously, over the last, I'd say about probably 40 years, right? Is fitness kind of started to change into more performance stuff. And then now we're starting to kind of get this lifestyle switch that's going on in
Hmm.
the world right now. And I'm hoping it's here to stay because I think what was going on before was a lot of aesthetic based stuff. And there's obviously a lot of aesthetic based stuff in the world right now, obviously, with, plastic surgeries and all these other things going on. But I think fitness is one of those things where, yes, you can also gain the aesthetic while also training for life. And I think there's a very big shift going on in that, like, hey, people are starting to actually train for life.
Hmm.
Not so much the main focus isn't so much like, hey, I need to have shredded six pack and I need to see my veins pop out when I blink. It's like, I just want to be able to pick up my dog, pick up my kids, lift the groceries up the stairs, tie my shoe, not be out of breath when I, walk down the street. And I
Hmm.
think more and more people, and again, it's a pendulum, and I always agree with this. Like, I think some of that stuff is needed. Like, we needed the whole performance bodybuilding thing to then find out, like, hey, yeah, it's probably not healthy, right? And we just need to
Yeah.
kind of like find the happy medium. And it's not to say there's not going to be people, in performance based stuff because it's just a part of life. But I think most people just want to train for life. Most people don't want to wake up and say, hey, I'm going to do Wendler's 5-3-1 for the next 3 months and try to get a 1 rep max bench press. This doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. And I think for a lot of people, they struggle with it when they have to train as if they're an athlete. And training for life is a totally different thing. And I think when we actually train for longevity, joint health, any of those things, it's important that that becomes the norm, and then you can branch out because that's really what fitness is. Fitness
Yeah.
is waking up, feeling good, being able to do the next thing, being able to be there, do your work, enjoy your life, and not really, obviously the aesthetics can happen if you're disciplined enough and you want to put that effort in, but by no means, and again, I don't want this to come off as like it's okay to be lazy because that's definitely not the case. But what I'm saying is fitness doesn't have to be this, all right, I'm gonna do 2 a days. I'm gonna run 10 miles in the morning and then I'm gonna go lift at night because I that's still been going on, and I think that always will go on because as people fight for attention on social media, the attention grabbing stuff is obviously needing to get more and more absurd,
Hmm.
and I think you're seeing people like I saw a dude, uh, who I've seen him before. His name's Hercules. He ran like 3 marathons in 3 days, like just absurd, and like basically PR'd all of them. Like it was just like
Like
some
one after the next after the
stupid.
next.
Yeah, I forgot what it was. I don't know the exact numbers, but all I know is he ran like a back. It was either back to back or back to back to back marathons, uh, for something, and it's just things like that where or you get these people who he might have been the same guy, but he was doing some running challenge and he was trying to run consistently for like 100 days, and he was on a plane, so he ran a mile in place on a plane. Just like turned his watch on treadmill mode and just ran in place at the back of the airplane for like 30 minutes or
If that
whatever it
was
was to
a
get the
commercial
mile.
flight, I would easily like punch that dude. Can you imagine just
Well,
trying to relax and just hear thump, 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 thump? Like I'd be so mad.
you're in that back seat and he's just next to you, just like
Just everything's flopping. And just be like, dude, get out of my
you're just like,
face,
oh my God.
please.
Push him into the bathroom.
Yeah, push him in the bathroom, lock the door.
But yeah, so I
No,
think I think
that's a
there's
good point.
a big push, or there was a big push to grab attention, but I think most people just want to train for life. They just want to be healthy, they just want to be happy, and I hope that continues. And I think it's something I've seen more and more, and I've heard more and more for most people.
Yeah, with that, it's important too that obviously having a clear goal in mind is going to help give you that path. So if you're kind of just like going to the gym and you don't know what you're training for, sometimes, well, it can still be effective. If you're training and you have like a structured program and you just want to be healthier, absolutely. But having a goal in mind will help to, I guess, it'll help you define what your training should
Save it.
be.
We're gonna get to that,
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool.
but I like where your head's at. I like where your
Yeah,
head's
yeah.
at. But yeah,
I didn't see that one written
and I
down
think that towards the end
toward the end.
you'll
Got
see
it.
you'll see where I go with it.
Got
But
it. Okay.
I think there's a lot to be said about it, and I think we just want to continue to push that quality of life type of training with bouts of pushing ourselves, right? Finding
Hmm.
ourselves and pushing ourselves down that path of like, hey, I know I can do more. I know I want to do a half marathon. I know I want to, up my bench press or up my deadlift, that sort of thing. And we can do that. We just want to be smart about the progressions that we take there. Anything else to add to that?
No, sir.
Cool. Trend number 3 is individualization over templates. And I think this has been something that I have been, seeing more and more in my circle. But I also think, I don't know how the online space is in that regard anymore. Like I haven't really paid attention to it, if I'm being completely honest. But I know for a while there was like the booty programs and the random guy who was on steroids selling a general program that was just cookie cutter and everyone was paying $15 a month for. And I think more and more people are realizing like, hey, I need someone who knows me, knows my schedule, knows my goals, knows who I am as a person, and are building a program that actually like fits my needs. Because I think it's being people are finding out more and more that like, hey, this actually means something when someone's there and I can talk to them and they can make changes and they understand who I am and I can fit this into my life. So I hope that more and more people, which again, this requires a leveling up of coaches understanding, like truly understanding individualized coaching. But I think individualization is a trend that I want to continue to see rise. And I want to see more and more coaches dive into that side of it. Not just, hey, I wrote the same program and I'm going to change it for a couple people. Like, no, Jerry is a different person and has a different life and lives in a different place and probably needs a couple little different things. Obviously, we're not going, crazy, and not everybody's program looks like insanely different, right? But, having someone there who you can talk to and they know you and they can make those changes over just saying like, hey, here's a random program, go follow it, right?
Hmm.
I think more coaches need to understand this and need to learn this, and I think that if we can do this, then people automatically are going to be healthier and happier.
Yeah. Though I mean, one of the bigger points to add to that is like obviously with individualization, like knowing me, knowing my goals, but also injury history. The three clients
Mm-hmm.
that I'll be adding to my schedule in the next week.
Speaking of which, you see
What's
this
that?
bottle?
Is that Gatorade?
I got this for passing the CSCS.
Oh, that's actually sick.
Yeah,
That's
sorry to
something
cut
nice.
you off.
No, that's sick. That looks like Godspeed, the villain from the Flash. But either way, the individualization, the three clients that I'll be adding to my schedule in this next week, all reached out because of injury history. and they've done
Yeah.
general programming and they've gotten hurt or they've re-injured that thing or gotten like a compensation injury. So knowing who you're working with is one of the biggest selling points as a coach. Like I understand how your body is moving. I understand where we need to work on it and how we can make it so it can move better. And that's a piece that in general programming you don't get. Like if you can't squat and like three of the movements are squat movements on your leg day and like you're really struggling with it, you need to have a coach be like, okay, instead of this, we're going to swap it out for these, and then we'll build up to that squat because that's where you want to be. So understanding
It's got to
who
be
your
such a
clients are
good
and how they move
feeling.
is huge.
Such a good feeling when someone doesn't train with you and they come back and they're like, I need you. Like,
Dude, that's
say it to me
honestly
again.
that's basically I had one client she had recently moved and she like she was so unhappy at work. She quit her job, moved to a different city. Turns out it's this city, so I'll be working with her again. So it's she was just like, yeah, like I need individualized programming because the general shit just isn't working, and it's an amazing feeling. So it does feel good. So
Not that your clients should need you, but it's a nice
yeah,
feeling when they try to go somewhere else or have to go somewhere else
yeah,
and it's just not the same.
yeah. To be fair, I
Just
worked with her
speaks to the
for
level
like
of
two
coach.
months, and we were making progress. So there's
Yeah.
still some progress to be made. It's not like I was working with her for years. It's just like I can't move anymore. Like
Yeah.
it's just like literally a little bit of time went by. So
Yeah,
just feels
exactly.
good. Yeah.
All right. Trend number 4. This is where we can hop back to what you were talking about, but
Hmm.
accountability over motivation, right? And I think people are kind of tired of hearing the hype speeches and tired of hearing the Goggins types of characters and hearing the burn the boats type deal. And I think everybody needs it. I think it helps. But I truly think that like you just need accountability. And I think people are starting to realize that like outside motivation and these extrinsic things aren't going to last very long in getting you to those places, right? And I think what and why I wanted Jerry to save it for this section was, when you set goals and they're real honest goals, you don't really need the hype speeches. You don't need to have someone there pushing you as much. Obviously, it's still good to keep you accountable and make sure you're completing your tasks, but accountability always wins over like that fleetingness of like external motivation, right? Something you're putting
Hmm.
and it helps. And I'm a big advocate for if you're dealing with anything mentally or dealing with anything like emotionally, getting as much positivity into your brain as possible. That's what's always helped me in the past. Is like if I know I'm not feeling good or I'm trying to like get out of a little bit of a slump, I'll go and find the things that I know are going to hype me up or just when I'm feeling down and out, I just put that in so I know I can get me out of that little hump.
Hmm.
Uh, but outside of that, obviously that's what it's there for. It's to kind of like get you, but you have to kind of keep moving after that. And sometimes I think people rely too much on the motivation, right? And they don't allow themselves to actually set real goals, set like realistic goals as well. Like things that are like, hey, how can I actually achieve this? They're too vague, they're too broad, and you can't actually like implement those things into a daily schedule to make sure you get there. And I think that goals are so important, and I really hope that the accountability trend continues over this extrinsic Goggins type of motivation. Not that David
There's
Goggins is a
also
bad person.
yeah, yeah. Just a what's the word? It's a template way of talking to people in fitness. That's essentially like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's where we're referencing like that ideal. But I mean, to build off of that, you speak about like getting as much positivity and like finding the things that hype you up in in fitness. I found like I don't know if you've seen this trend, but there are some coaches online who are like really easy on their clients in the sense where like, yeah, I know it's been a really hard week. Take the next 3 days away from the gym. We'll start back up on Monday. Have you seen this stuff? Like
No.
people like so it's really weird to me and it's almost like reverse coaching and it's almost like being a laid back coach to the point where you're coaching to a fault where it's like you're not actually helping them here. What essentially is
Hmm.
happening, like if you've ever been to a place like a trampoline park or anywhere that has a foam pit and you fall into the foam pit, that initial like get me out of this thing. It's hard to move,
Yeah.
and that's essentially what like that unhappiness in fitness or in life is. It's hard to move, but think of like, and it's easy to like sit there and sink, right? But
Yeah,
like
yeah,
once
yeah.
you're out of the pit, you can full on sprint and you have all that movement and you're free again. So like you have nothing holding you down.
Yeah.
all these coaches who are doing that now, it's bothering me where they're like the friendly coach, which some people need that style of coaching, but they're basically saying like, I understand this week was hard. You know what? Let's take the next 4 days off. We'll start back on Monday fresh when you're feeling good. Monday will come around. I can guarantee you this will happen. Monday will come around and that person will not be fresh. They'll be even
Mhm.
more stuck in the foam pit. And these coaches are selling like their ease into fitness, where like fitness doesn't have to be extreme. Fitness doesn't have to. It's like, yeah, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be the Goggins, but you could ease into it and still make progress by having the discipline and drive to continue to move forward.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that like a lot of that stuff comes from not in actually individualizing a program and not really understanding the person that's in front of you.
Hmm.
Because I think if you did, not to say that like life doesn't happen outside of it, but I think the goal for me is to never stop moving, right? Like as much movement as possible, as consistent as possible. And I think with a lot of this stuff, it requires the individual to
Hmm.
buy in, but it also requires the coach to kind of lead them into you know where they need to be. And I think, like you said, I wouldn't appreciate that either because that's not why the client's coming to you.
It's
Maybe,
enabling.
yeah. And I think it's one of those things where the client struggles, and obviously that's like uh, objection, right? Like something that's
Mhm.
getting in the way of them reaching their goal. And I think it's our job as a coach to adjust and make changes outside of being like, oh, well, I guess we're just going to take the days off, and that's where individualization comes in. It's like, hey, cool, maybe we're not going to lift 100 pounds today, but we're going to move because I know that's going to help you, right?
Yeah.
Like there's things that I know no matter what. If I'm having a good day, it's going to make my day even better. If I'm having a bad day, it's going to make my day better if I just move. It doesn't have to
Hmm.
be 100%. I can be smart about the movements that I do. I don't, if I know I didn't sleep well last night, I tell my trainer and they come in and they're like, "Oh, well, I guess you should just go home and sleep." It's like, "Well, let's move. You're here. Let's get everything done. Let's make some adjustments, that sort of thing." Because as much as like, because then you could get nitpicky and you could basically say everything is a reason why someone shouldn't work out because they're too
Yeah.
tired or they didn't eat enough or they're not hydrated or this, that, and the third, whatever you want to throw in. And I think that's where it starts to pile on, and you know, you can't let that be the case because then it leads into a bunch of different things.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Getting past the
Cool.
obstacles, especially early on in a client's, I guess, what's the journey in a client's journey?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Getting
yeah.
getting that started in the beginning is one of the most important things to build their ability to continue to move forward, their accountability, their discipline, all that stuff.
Yeah, and I think this kind of leads into trend number 5, which I hope we see more of, is clients taking ownership, right? And I think
Hmm.
a lot that goes wrong in the fitness industry is on coaches, right? And I think it's on people who don't take the industry serious. But I really think it's up to clients to take ownership and not rely so much on just, you know, being a blind follower of whatever the
Hmm.
person in front of you is telling you. Do your own research. Make sure you're asking the right questions. Make sure you're seeing real results and understanding like, hey, what do I actually want to see as success here, or am I just kind of being like lied to or led down the wrong path? Because if clients take more ownership, which this is something I preach to my clients, is like, I want you to ask questions. I want you to be like, why are we doing this? How are we doing this? What's the point of this? And I want to create metrics for my clients so that they actually see the results in whatever way works best, right? There was, a couple of my clients early on who wanted to lose weight, and it's very simple to be like, okay, pay attention to the scale, right? But
Hmm.
like, if that's the only thing you look at, you're screwed. And we've had episodes on this in the past, but like I always tell my clients, look at your take pictures, check the scale, and then let me know how you feel, right? Because those are 3 different ways that are very easy and repeatable and sustainable that you can check every single day. Where it's like, hey, I took 12 pictures and I can clearly see my face is a little bit thinner or my shirt fits a little bit better. But I took on the 20th day, I don't really see a change, but the weight on the scale is down, right? It's like,
Hmm.
cool, all right, we're still making progress. And then it's both those. It's like, hey, the scale's not really down, the pictures don't look different, but I feel like way better. Like I feel more energized, I feel happier. That's another metric. And all of those kind of coexist as we start to find things. But it's the client's job to also realize a lot of these things and understand, like, hey, you know, I have to be proactive in some of these situations. I have to show up. If the clients or the coach is telling me to do something, I have to figure out a way to implement it. Otherwise, why am I doing this? Right.
Hmm.
And I think that client taking ownership and taking accountability and not outsourcing their discipline and not making others around them be the reason why they're not succeeding is is crucial, because I think the more education the client has, the better the better they're going to the better results they're going to get in return, because they're going to be able to better execute on the things that they need to execute on, and it leads them to deep dive into education and really kind of become someone that can lead themselves eventually with the help of a coach, and you're just going to get even further, right? And when you rely on coaches, when you become dependent and can't make decisions outside of that, that's when you essentially lose any type of autonomy, and that's when you fail.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest pet peeves in the industry is coaches who don't help in that manner. And when I get a client who's been like, yeah, I've done personal training before, but then they know almost nothing, it's not necessarily their fault. It's a lot of it falls on the coach to educate, but it's frustrating when they have all these things wrong. Like their mindset is wrong, their understanding of what we're doing is wrong, and everything is wrong, and they've had a trainer for years. It's like, what was that trainer doing? So it's important for clients to understand, like pay attention to the way coaches answer questions, but it's important for coaches to answer questions with the best of their ability. And if you don't have the answer, tell them. Say like, yeah, I'm
Mhm.
not. I have an idea of what would be a good answer for that. I'm not entirely sure. Let me do some research. Next session when you come in, I'll have it for you. Perfect. Awesome. So building that relationship and that partnership essentially is huge for the client. Oh, you still there? I almost closed out.
Yeah.
Huge for the client, but it's also huge for the coach because if I'll be honest, let's say Coach Joshua was working with my client Brandon, and Brandon came in and said, "Yeah, Coach Joshua said this." I'm as Coach Jerry thinking like, "What the hell is Coach Joshua doing? Well, like, why does anyone trust Coach Joshua? That's not a good look on Coach Joshua." So, Coach Joshua, I
Hmm.
don't know Coach Joshua, but do your thing. Make sure you're actually answering questions and doing your best to provide for your client. Do you know Coach Joshua?
Yeah, he sells steroids. I know, I'm joking. I don't know any Coach
Okay.
Joshua's.
Say good. I don't know one either. That's not if you happen to be a Joshua, I'm sorry if that offended you.
Be better if you happen to be a Joshua, right? Be
Yeah,
better.
yeah. Be a Jerry.
Be a cherry. Yeah, and I think, again, I think one of the other things we wrote down, coaching is a partnership. I think
Hmm.
it has to be. I think early on it's very dependent on the information that the coach has and the discipline of the client, and that's where you kind of like meet in the middle. But I think as it goes on, it really becomes the coach being the driver and kind of guiding you on where you need to go, and the client using that information and then getting to where they need to be, and being like, hey, all right, on to the next part, get me there. On to the next part, get me there. And I think that's crucial for long term success. Um, and trend number 6, the last trend, I don't necessarily, and this one's a hard one because I want there to be coaches who care, right? I think there's a lot of coaches right now in the industry who aren't fully invested, or they look at this as an easy way. I just want there to be higher standards. And I think that there are ways to do this. I think if us as coaches, and I think one of the ways to do this is kind of what we just talked about, which I've talked about a lot in the past, is like if clients are more informed, if they're better educated, if they're taking accountability, then automatically coaches are going to have to be better, which is going to raise the standard, right? But I think, in general, I think there's a lot of noise. I think there's a lot of, validation, or what's the word I'm looking for? Like the short term, damn, I can't think of the word.
Gratification?
Gratification. Yeah, I was gonna say. I think it starts with a G. Grated cheese. No,
Starts with a
gratification.
Gerald.
So
Yeah.
yes, but I think there's so much of that like short term gratification that comes into play in these situations, that I think if we can fix them, and we can show them that, like, hey, I can get you where you want to be, but you have to be patient with me, and you have to kind of like buy in, and you have to learn, and you have to understand. You're gonna get somewhere, and it's gonna make the industry as a whole better, right? I want to create standards. I want to be that person, and I'm working on it. And I want there to be something that says, like, hey, this is a coach you can trust. This is someone that you know you can trust, and that no matter what is going to lead you down that path. Obviously, none of it can be perfect, because even in those situations where there are standards, like a lawyer, like a doctor, you always get the bad apples, right? And I think that, for me, it's about the idea of, like, hey, I want to really improve fitness, improve coaching, improve the standard, and make it something where it's not just, hey, I got this certification, I'm ready. It's like, hey, I got
Hmm.
this certification plus what else that thing might be, I don't know yet. But it's coaches who actually train, it's coaches who actually want to be there, who want to show up, who love the gym, who love the coaching aspect, who are great communicators, listen very well, and you need a certain personality to be a great coach. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't truly understand. And I think that if I the last trend, and probably the most important one, is I just want to see a continued trend in, like, holding coaches accountable, increasing the standard of coaching, and just providing a really great experience for everyone involved. Beautiful. Beautiful. And I think that's it. I think those are the trends that we see, that we want to see, I should say. And I think that we're always trying to lead on that end, and I think as coaches, it's really important that we kind of see these things, and have these conversations. This is a fun conversation, like talking about the trends that we hope we see in fitness, but these are like real things that I think if we can lead on, and put into our daily practice, we can make it happen, and I think that it requires, obviously, a good business, a good model, a good consistency, right? And I think showing up every single day, like if you're a coach and you're trying to just make it in the industry, you should be in the gym as much as possible right now, talking to everybody, helping anybody, answering questions, showing up early, being there late. Like, it's just the price you have to pay to get in. And if you really love it, that's gonna feel like, playtime to you, right? And that's what I did. That's what Jerry's done. Like, we've had to just sit in the gym for 10 years, and I personally, well, Jerry has too. I know my journey was a little bit more work focused, but like I left to go get better at work. Like, that's the only reason I left. It was because I wanted to go where I thought was going to make me better at my job, and then I left again, and then I left again, and then I left again, and now I'm back, right? And I'm back with so much experience, and so much of that, and that's why I really feel that this year, like, it, is going to be one of my best years in the next, kind of like the next chapter of my life, or I'll say the 30s, because it's coming back with so much information, knowledge, experience. And I think that, for me, it's really kind of hammering home, like influencing the highest standard of coaching in 2026. So, and I think Jerry and I can speak on that the same. It's a new year. We're taking on new clients. We're both looking to work with some new people, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a general practitioner, someone who just wants to get healthy, like we talked about, or someone who just kind of, wants to be a little bit better in their free time and still train really hard. We have all of that covered from head to toe. We got the platform, we got the app, we got the workouts, we got the communication, all that stuff hammered down. Our process, everything from front to end, is covered, and making sure that you're getting everything you need from the moment you start talking to us to the getting to the goal that you want to achieve. And I think that's one of the biggest things is I really try to push coaching from the minute someone calls, right? And not being like over coaching, and just overdoing it, but not letting someone call me and not take something away, and not understanding, like, hey, listen, like, if you're here for me to coach you, I'm going to be honest with you. You know what I mean? I'm going to tell you, like, hey, you need this. I think you need this. I think this is where we need to go, and going down that route. So if anyone who's listening to this wants to make a change, wants to level up in 26, reach out to myself at bgperform underscore, or at www.bgperform.com/training. Or if you're in Albany/Colony area, you can come to ABC in Latham, or reach out to at Coach Jerry Hayes, who's now in Colorado at Cooler Performance. If you want to reach out to him, if you're in the Colorado area and you want to do some training out there with him or online, like I said, same area, you can reach out to him at Coach Jerry Hayes, or just reach out to the website and I'll transfer that over to Jerry. And yeah, I'm excited about this year. I think the podcast is something that I want to continue to grow. I think making the changes we've made, continuing to make the changes we continue to make, and I think there's going to be a lot to come from this. But I'm definitely 100% looking forward to this year. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you made it to 2026, congratulations. We're about to kick it off, make another great year of the BG Perform podcast. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you follow us, make sure you let us know how you felt about this episode. And if you want to see more of this sort of thing, let us know. And as always, we will see you guys next time. Peace.